Welcome to the second episode of my trading bot challenge, where I try to make as much money as possible by only using trading bots available on Bybit, starting with $1,000. So this is the first week update. Last week we created our first grid bot on Bitcoin, and as you can see right here, the balance is pretty much the same. It went up by probably about $1. In this video, we are gonna look at what happened in the last week, how our grid bot is currently doing, and then I have already analyzed a couple of different setups where I want to create some grid bots, and we're just gonna go over that. So let's start off with the grid bot that we created last week. It was a grid bot that we created on Bitcoin. It was actually a short grid bot, just because again, Bitcoin has been in this descending channel for quite some time. And I believe that with the risk reward ratio given, it's definitely better to set up a short grid bot than a long grid bot right here. And if we look at what happened over the past week, basically immediately after starting the bot, we had Bitcoin go up and test this resistance right around the 64,400 area. It got rejected. It got actually rejected very heavily. So it dumped down, tested the support around 59,000, which is actually a pretty decent support zone. So between 59K to like 60K. We had a lot of wicks in the past, a lot of tests on this area. Again, we got rejected on the support, so it went up again. And basically we're about on the same level as where we started. So it's a little bit up. And if we look at the current grid bot, we can see that over the past week, we made a total of 6 profitable trades. So that's about 1 trade every single day. And in total, we have made $8 on this bot. The reason why overall we're still down is obviously because the current open position, the unrealized profit and loss, is currently in a loss. Because Bitcoin is a little bit up, since we're short, that's not good. But overall, it's looking pretty good. Bitcoin has basically been going sideways for the past week. Not a lot has happened. Made a couple of trades with the bot, which obviously ended in profit. But overall, we just have to wait a little bit longer to see where Bitcoin is really going to head. Again, it's still in this descending channel. I think the most important level to look for is the upper grid range, because this is a very good resistance area. So we need to see if we can get up here and then hopefully get rejected on Bitcoin. But for now, on this bot, nothing to change, nothing to do. We're just gonna observe and wait how the bot develops. And what I already did before starting the recording of this video, I was analyzing the market and scanning the market a bit for new gridbot setups. Because obviously we don't only want to have one gridbot running with only 10% of our money. In the best case scenario, we want to have all of our money deployed in some kind of bot. So what I did is I looked at the most traded cryptocurrencies, which most of the time also tend to be the biggest ones. And we have a couple of good setups that I've found. So let's go to Solana and look at the first setup that I've spotted. So on Solana, you can actually change to the weekly. It's a very big time frame, but for the past couple of months, as we already analyzed the Bitcoin, market is really slow, so weekly time frame really good. Market has been going sideways, going down, so pretty good time frame to use right now. So basically, the best pattern to look for when using grid bots is always a pattern that goes exactly like Solana does. It goes up, goes sideways, goes up, goes sideways. Obviously, it's a little bit easier to spot if you go to the logarithmic chart how sideways Solana is actually going right now. If we switch to regular, you can also see it very clearly. So what I spotted is, again, I've looked for a price range where Solana has been trading in quite a lot over this time period. What I've spotted is that we had the channel down here, just like I printed right now. So it went up, went sideways, right? When it's going sideways, we're looking for support and resistance. Why do we do this? Because as you can see on the previous sideways movement, right around the resistance, the new support has formed. So it's always like this. Markets go up, go sideways, they build resistance, and if it breaks out and it goes down, it retests this resistance and often turns into support. And this is the exact pattern that we can observe right here. And this is why it's really, really good to set up grip bots here. You can spot it very easily. We had a lot of retests. We tested here, tested here, tested here, tested here, tested here. And all these times we tested this resistance. Every time we got rejected off of it, the support basically becomes stronger. So it means it's harder to break through. On the other end, on the top side, it's pretty simple. You just look for the highest swing high, which is right above here. But when setting up grip bots, you want to have a very high density of candles. So I wouldn't recommend to set up a grid range that it goes all the way up here, because Solana only traded for about 4 weeks this high. So it's better to put it a little bit lower and have more price movement within the grid range. And then again, what I did is, since I'm on the weekly time frame, I again looked at the average true range, which tells us how much Solana moves every single week. And then I just subtracted it from the lower range, added it to the upper range. And basically the setup we're getting, if we started right here, is a risk to reward ratio of 1.5. So one thing you might be asking right now is, why the hell would we set up a short grid on the biggest crypto, Bitcoin, but then on the other hand, set up a long grid on Solana? Because in the last video, I said that Bitcoin dictates the entire market, right? The entire crypto market basically depends on how Bitcoin is moving. But in this case, there's a pretty good reason. The first one is, of course, the risk to reward ratio. Setting up a short right here wouldn't be very good because the risk reward ratio would be below 1, and I just don't like to use that. The second reason is exactly what I've analyzed right now. We had a previous sideways movement, we had strong resistance turn into support. That's a very bullish pattern. And then the third reason is that when Bitcoin was at its lowest point, right here around the 5th of August, if we go back to Solana on the 5th of August, it wouldn't have even reached our stop loss. So even worst case scenario, or best case scenario, whatever way you want to look at it, if Bitcoin goes down and retests this lower low right here at around $49,000, if Solana moves the same as it did before, we wouldn't even hit our stop loss, which is a pretty good sign. So these are the 3 reasons why, even though I'm setting up a short grid on Bitcoin, I want to set up a long bot on Solana. And for that, we're just going to move over to Bybit, go ahead and create a futures grid bot. Going to switch the pair to Solana. We're going to do it manually, and we're going to do long. So it's always very interesting to just quickly look at what the AI recommends, which is 130 to 165. I'm looking at 128.5 to 185. So the lower range actually being quite similar, but the upper range is a bit lower. So 165 I would reckon it's around this swing high right here, which it is, yeah. So basically, I think what the AI is trying to do is look at shorter time frames. So it's probably looking at the 3-day, maybe even at the daily, and it's spotting that, okay, we had a big resistance around the 163 area, and then maybe it just adds $1 or $2 and it gets to that number. I don't really know exactly how it works, but most of the time when I compare my numbers to the AI numbers, they are actually not that different. But in this case, upper range of 185. Then we're gonna do geometric. Let's see how many grids we can use. Let's just try 100. 100 definitely being too much. Let's go to 70. Let's go 75 maybe. All right, yeah, 75, pretty good. That's around 0.5% profit per grid, but we obviously have to check the minimum investment also like I explained in the last video. But let's do the take profit and stop loss first. So take profit is at 210, stop loss is at 103.5. Again, to estimate the leverage that we're going to use, we're going to measure from where we start the bot down to our stop loss, which is about 30%. So that gives us about a 3 to 4x leverage. But since script bots, you don't use all the money right away, but it gradually fills up. You can go a little bit higher on the leverage. So we're going to do 5x leverage. We're going to do a 5x leverage for now, which increases the profit per grid. So we have to do a little bit of more grids. Let's do 110, 105 maybe, 106, 107. 107 would be perfect, but this would require a minimum investment of $400. Now, I obviously don't want to risk almost half of the entire portfolio on this bot. I would much rather risk 10% to maybe max of 20%, since I really am confident in the setup. But we're gonna obviously reduce the grids. Just gonna go down to 50. If we do 50 grids, we could actually set it up with $200. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Gonna double check everything again. $200, 128.5 to 185, 210 and 103.5 as stop loss and take profit, and then profit per grid. We're gonna confirm this. All right, so second bot created again. Then we have a very interesting setup on the second biggest crypto, which is Ethereum. So whenever you look at Ethereum, there's actually another pair that you want to look before looking at Ethereum, which is Ethereum to Bitcoin. So it's basically the comparison of how good Ethereum is moving to Bitcoin, right? So basically what this means is Ethereum to Bitcoin is going down. It means that Bitcoin is moving more than Ethereum. So this could mean that Ethereum is either going down while Bitcoin is going up. It can also mean Ethereum is going down more than Bitcoin is going down, or it can also mean Bitcoin is going up more than Ethereum. So basically it just tells us that Ethereum is lagging behind in whatever direction the market is going. And if we look at this, even on the weekly or on the monthly, you can see that there's a very big support zone that we are hitting right now. So back in late 2018, early 2019, the big support, big resistance, then September 2020, big resistance, and 2021, big resistance. After it broke, Ethereum skyrocketed, right? But now it's going down again, and it has been testing the support a couple of times in the past few weeks. Then I know, okay, we're looking at a good support on Ethereum. So let's look at Ethereum itself. Well, guess what? Ethereum itself on the 3-day chart is actually ranging as it has been going down, and it's also right around the support. So you can see Ethereum was going up, was going sideways, built support, built resistance, and now it's retesting this support that we had on the past sideways movement. The problem that I have with this setup is if you set it up right now as a long grip bot, the risk to reward ratio is only 1.02. I'm not the biggest fan of setting up a grid bot where I risk the same as what I potentially can make. I always want to make more than what I risk. So what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to set it up this exact way because I really enjoy this setup. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an entry price so I can increase the risk to reward ratio, but potentially I can also miss out on the entire setup. But I've learned from experience, it's always better to be a bit patient, set up very good entry prices that increase your overall odds instead of just jumping into the opportunity right away. So what we're going to do is Gonna set up another grid bot, but now it's gonna be on Ethereum. It's gonna be a long, manual, gonna do lower price of 2,250, upper price of 2,650. We have a take profit of 2,850, stop loss of 2050. We're gonna measure again. So from the entry price, which the entry price I've set to 2,350, it's about a 12% movement. So we can do about a 10x leverage. Gonna do geometric. Let's see how many grids we can do. So 50, 60, 55, maybe a bit more. Gonna do 56 grids. We can do $200 again. But then for the entry price, we only want this bot to start if Ethereum hits $2,350, which is about around a 4% move to the downside. So this way, again, if we would start it right away, there's only about one risk reward. But if we are a bit patient, we can wait until the price moves down to 2,350, which is about the previous swing low. Then we have a 1.67 risk reward, which is way better and would increase our overall odds of being profitable in the long run. So we're going to create this right now. And we're also going to set an alert at 2,350. ETH grid bot start. Gonna copy this to the message. And then one more setup that I found is on BNB. It's pretty similar to Ethereum, as we don't want to start it right away, but we also want to set an entry price. So Ethereum, so BNB looks very, very similar to Solana actually. We had movement to the upside, and it's been going sideways for a very long time. Actually been going sideways for about 213 days. But as you can see, yeah, if we set it up right now, I don't really like the risk to reward. It's below 1, it's only 0.8. So we're gonna set up this bot again, but with an entry price that is a bit lower, so we can increase the risk to reward ratio. And again, on BNB, you can actually zoom out to the weekly, and you can see why I like this setup this much. It's because previously, when BNB hit the first all-time high, you can see that it has been retesting this all-time high, and ever since retesting it, it has really been going sideways within this range. So we're gonna set up another bot, again futures grid, but for now we're gonna do BNB manual, and we're gonna do a range of 510 to 605. We're gonna do a take profit of 665, stop loss of 450. We're gonna again measure from the entry price to the stop loss. It's about 16%. So 100 divided by 16 is about 5. Or sorry, not 19, but 16, which is about 6 leverage. We're gonna up this to a 7 or even 8 leverage. We're gonna set the entry price to 540, and then we can go ahead and look for how many grids we can use. Let's try just 100. That's too much. 50. Can do a bit more than 50. 56 looks good. 57 looks good. Yeah, we're gonna do 57. Minimum investment of 53. And I think since we have a lot of long exposure right now, and I'm not as confident in this setup just because we reached the stop loss barely a couple of times, but once we actually wicked below, I'm gonna risk a little bit less on this one. Only gonna do 100 right now. And then for the last setup, and let's not forget the alert of 540, which is BNB Gridbot Start. And for the last setup, I have DOT, and DOT is a little bit different. First of all, we're gonna change to a logarithmic, otherwise you will not see anything very clearly. But DOT is different as it's been going the exact opposite direction as the other setups. If we look in the past, we can see that DOT skyrocketed in 2021 and also late 2021. But ever since then, it's basically been dying. But what we can see is that it's been going sideways, or it has been dying sideways, kind of, for over 840 days, which is completely insane. You basically never see something like this. If we switch to a regular chart instead of the logarithmic, you can even see how small this range really is, right? If we check out the logarithmic, it doesn't look that small, but on regular, you can see how small it is in comparison to the other price action. So on this one, you can actually spot two setups. The first one is a bigger one on the weekly chart, which covers the entire range. So from bottom to top, that's about an 87% range. I'm not going to set up this one just because of the overall market conditions, right? If we look at Bitcoin, we established that we're in a downtrending channel. This is not an uptrending market. So I don't want to set up a very long-lasting grid bot that focuses on the upside. I would much rather take either a short setup that lasts a bit longer or a long setup that lasts a bit shorter. So I'm not going to do the weekly, but if we go to the free daily chart or even the daily chart, there's an even smaller range that has been established within the bigger range, right? We can see the DOT has been going sideways for about 2.5 months within this range, and we can spot it's a 1.57 risk to reward ratio. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. The price now is even lower than before, so the risk to reward is even higher. And what gives me a lot of confidence in this setup is the stop loss that we have. Because the stop loss has actually never been reached, right? If you look at it from the start of where DOT went live, even after the first move to the upside, it never reached the stop loss. So the stop loss is very strong here. It's, I guess, very unlikely that it will be reached, but if it will be reached, I will probably never set up a bot on this again, just because it would be very devastating for the currency. But if we go to the daily, I think the setup is very convincing. So we're going to do one last bot, which we're going to do on DOT, manual and long. We're going to do 3.95 to 4.8. Going to do a stop loss of 3.45 and a take profit of 5.3. No entry price, as we want to start it right away. We're going to measure the distance again. So from right here all the way down, it's about 16%, which again is the same as on BNB. And we can do about 7 to 8x average. Gonna do 8x right here, just because I think it's very unlikely that it will go down to the support or to the stop loss. We're gonna do geometric, and again look for the perfect number of grids. So about 61, 61 is too little, 65, 66, 67 is too much, so we're gonna do 66. Minimum investment is very, very low on this one, but I'm very confident in this setup. So we're actually gonna do $200, which leaves us with around $200. We're gonna create it right now. Again, check the settings, 3.95 to 4.8, 5.3 and 3.45 with 66 grids and $200. All right, so if we go back to the homepage, if you think back to last week, we only had this one Bitcoin bot, but now we have 5 bots in total, where 3 bots are active right now, and we have a trigger price on both BNB and Ethereum USDT. So for now, it's just again a waiting game, and again next week we're gonna look at it. We're gonna analyze the markets again, analyze the bots, and just see where we're at. So we'll see each other next week. Bye.